Thank you. Yes, we met over a phone call about evaluations, and in my phone calls, as you probably hear when you talk with people, you can hear the spiritual talk a little bit or not. And I have a tendency to just kind of feel out the conversation. And so we started talking, probably the second year, I think. We were talking a little bit more. And Derek told me about the ministry he was led into, and I just thought, man, that is awesome. That is just crazy awesome. So that's how we met. And I come from a background of educators, and I finally decided, I keep having this thing with children. At the time that I decided to finish my piece of paper, my degree, I owned a restaurant, and I was just always doing stuff with the children and had a bunch of children working with me too. So anyway, I was born again at that point, and I heard, you need to pursue education, you need to be a teacher. And my friends said, dude, you're just starting to make money. Are you nuts? Teacher? I never make any money doing that. And I was like, money doesn't matter. It's not what I'm hearing. That's not what I'm thinking. So after about 10 years, the Father convinced me that was one of my gifts. And I've got crazy stories about that. Prayers aren't always answered exactly how you ask them, but sometimes they are. Short story, I was preparing for my year tour at the junior high in Middleburg, and I was like, this is nuts. I'm doing the wrong thing. Are you sure I'm supposed to be a teacher? And 3 o'clock in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, my phone rang, and the person said, hi, is this Mr. Tucker from MC Riley? Is this Mr. Tucker? Yeah, who's this? This is Ben Smith. Is this Mr. Tucker from MC Riley Elementary School? Yeah. Hey, Ben, how's it going? He said, it's going pretty good. I'm starting at the Savannah School of Arts tomorrow, which is one of the really good universities of arts. And he said, I just wanted to tell you that third grade year in your class was pivotal in my life, which was 10 years before this phone conversation. And I was like, hey, wow, we talked for a little while. We'll just keep in touch. I've never heard from him since. And I got off the phone and I said, okay, fine, I get it, I guess I'm supposed to be teaching. But so just a little bit of my background there. I can talk as one of the 20,000 permanent residents of Martha's Vineyard. What a genius guy. Send 50 people there. Brilliant. We're talking about it for 2 days, and they're getting them out of there in 2 days. And my first year teaching was at Vineyard Montessori. I went up there for a summer job, and friends said, there's an opening at the Montessori school. You should do it. So it was like an extension of my education. I'd done a little bit of studies on Maria Montessori and liked it. And then I did a year there and then came back south. So from Martha's Vineyard to inner city Miami, which was, I don't have culture shock, really, for some strange reason. I think it's the Holy Spirit again. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. But it's my story. But then, and that little story was, okay, fine, I'll learn Spanish, but I'm not moving to Miami. You just need to leave me alone. And inner city Miami. I'll go for one weekend to check it out, but I'm going to St. Augustine or Key West. I don't care. I'd lived in Key West before. That was interesting. Very interesting. And so I'll just say, I was introduced to the lifestyle from a young teenager. I was propositioned by a guy when I was hitchhiking to a friend's house at the age of 15. I said, "Stop the car. Stop right now." "What did you say?" "No, stop the car." And I've had quite a few friends that are in the gay lifestyle, and I've was always taught to have an open mind, and to each his own, just to each his own. So anyway, I did end up in Miami, and from there I went to a job fair and ended up in Ecuador and ended up in Spain and actually learned Spanish and came back to Miami, and they put me in a Haitian school. I did not have one student that spoke Spanish. What evs, right? So about that time is when I met my wife, and when our oldest was 4.5, 5 years old, about 5, my parents said, "Well, where's Sonny going to school?" We were living in Coconut Grove, Miami, and my wife said, "We're homeschooling." And I said, "We're homeschooling? I don't know anything about it." And that's where I started my mentoring with Chris Fenton at the State Department of Education. I'm one of those people that goes straight to the source. He's the one. And then, certain people are the source of what you need to know and do. So some people later asked me to do this document, and so I just learned everything I could about homeschooling to make sure I was doing the right thing. And through that, I learned that there's a lot of confusing information, and that basically the county just wants you to put your children in school. And, you're not a professional. You can't teach your child. And I'm going, that's your child. That child was given to you. How many people here have their children in public school? Raise your hand, please. Raise it high. Everybody look. No. How many people have your children in a private school? Okay, not quite as many. How many people homeschool? Okay, it's almost pretty even. So I'll do the scriptural thing. I'll start from the end to the beginning. What I've learned is, as we were speaking this morning, where'd she go? That through our research on high school transcripts mainly, which my wife does now help a lot of people with high school transcripts. Anybody can make a high school transcript. It has to say official high school transcript, and it has to have the school official signature on it. And it's good to have the right numbers that they understand for the credit hours and the classes and all that. But my point was, in that research, universities and colleges and tech schools and businesses love homeschool graduates. Universities look at their applications first because they're all about numbers and statistics. And statistics show that homeschool students, generally speaking, have higher scores, better habits, study habits, usually more polite, and get involved with university activities. Because a lot of them, you're on your own schedule, so you're doing sports and music and all. We get to do field trips. Mr. Tucker, everybody's going to the zoo. Just stick with the zoo, dude. That's what you're doing. I'm like, Publix has a great tour where they talk about business. And, I was really impressed. I still remember going to the fire station when I was little. Why can't we do real field trips? And homeschooling, you can. So anyway, it is true, and most of the county schools either don't know, don't want to talk about it. Just put your child in school. What's wrong with you? But when you get up to the level of applying, you will find out that they're super happy to look at your homeschool graduates' transcripts. and test scores. So it's really simple. Another amazing thing about homeschooling is that, and to me nowadays especially, the laws are still in place and they're still followed, pretty much, which is amazing to me nowadays. What's going on is pretty crazy a lot of places and a lot of areas, but just, okay, so we have public school, private school, and homeschool. Public education, private education, home education. Those are our three choices. We still have those three choices. They're all legal. They're all legitimate. Because people look at you and go, homeschool, and you're like, oh, really? And I had one of the county people tell me, and I was like, she's forgotten who she's talking to. You know homeschoolers just stay home and watch TV, eat ice cream. I'm like, no. Which reminds me of one of the first points of propaganda. And I'll tell you, the general opinion of homeschoolers now is, we don't want the socialization that's there. But how are they going to be socialized? Very well, thank you. They will. We do field trips. We talk. They're super articulate. I mean, I've been to conferences and I'm guessing this person's 23 years old. No, they're 14. Talking to me about everything, playing any instrument you give them. So yeah, no, yeah. That's one of those no. Socialization. Yeah, we'll worry about that. I think it's a biblical thing. I'm a little extreme. I'm a very orthodox. I have some of these too. I got by accident, although nothing is an accident. This is a great translation. I bought a box of them. Come over to the table and get one if you want one. This is a great translation. The guy on the radio said, call and I'll send you a free Bible. I'm like, I'm all for that. I like looking at different translations because I don't really trust any of them. And I actually read them. And I'm pretty orthodox. So what I was going to say is, from the time you rise up until the time you lie down, teach your children. And homeschooling has been happening since the beginning of time. This factory school method is rather recent phenomena. We've had higher education for a long time, philosophy, and the Greeks are really known for all that kind of stuff. And that's great, but until they were, 12, 14, 15, you were homeschooled. Or somebody in the family that had the gift of reading, writing, and arithmetic would have the one-room little schoolhouse in the neighborhood. And most of those people are gifted in that. We all have gifts. And I'm telling you, the gift of teaching is not in the schools that much. It's just not there. So, as I was going to say, it's really simple. You have your three choices. You can take them to... If you find a school with real teachers that communicate with you, you can't really be a real teacher and set up a learning environment if you don't communicate with the child's parents. First of all, you know them better than anyone. You love them more than anyone. There's nobody better than you to make those kinds of decisions. And grandparents, too. I have actually a lot of grandparents that are homeschooling their grandchildren. So you can find a real school and take them and sign them up. You can sign them up at the private school. You, as Chris Fenton told me many times, private schools and homeschools do whatever they want. He kept trying to drill it in my head because I'm not believing we can do whatever we want. And I taught in Montessori. I tell you, we didn't do anything like the public schools. I'm getting it. Okay, private schools and homeschools do whatever they want. The only thing they have in common, he said, was 180 days. Homeschool, we don't have any days. There's nothing that says any days. Once a year, you get a licensed teacher to sign a piece of paper that they've seen your child's work and you continue homeschooling. That's one of these 4. I've got 4. 2. We've got a list of 4. You take them to the public school or the private school, or you send a letter of intent to home educate to the county that signs them up for homeschooling. That's it. They don't tell you that you just signed yourself up as the school official. You will sign the high school transcripts for them to be legal when they graduate. You send the letter of intent, your child is now free. You're free, totally free. No public school requirements. This is so difficult for anybody to hear that's talked to anybody in the county. When I talk to them, funny stories, I've got all kinds of stuff that I can send you. I just need to see that this child is working and there's progress, and that's what the law says. Documentation of educational progress, commensurate to their ability, which is a fancy way of saying whatever ability they're at. I have nonverbal autistic children that are showing progress commensurate to their ability. And some of them, a lot of them, start talking when they get at home. Just like your so-called, we're all on the spectrum at one point or the other. Okay, we all are. They're so nervous when they go to school, especially the special needs children. And they've been told that they have problems. It just bugs me to hear these teachers talking about children in front of them. I'm just like, will you be quiet? I don't have that problem at all with them. Just move along, children. We're going to the cafeteria. Bye, Miss Smith. All right, bye. Have a great day. Get in your classroom and close the door, please. I always left my door open. So you send the letter of intent, and you're signed up, and you're free to do whatever you want. You have to keep documentation. You don't have to keep everything. You have to keep a portfolio. It can be videos, photographs, stacks and stacks of papers, online, whatever you want to do. That's number 2 requirement. A reading list and an activity log does not show progress. That's for the parents to do. They're supposed to keep a reading list and activity log and documentation of educational progress. That's the portfolio. Chris Fenton said, anybody can make a list of books and a list of activities. Doesn't mean they did them. You got to see work, Mr. Tucker. So that's the third. My third is once a year, set by the date of the letter of intent. That date, 12 months later, you choose, once again, you choose the licensed teacher to do your review and send in the piece of paper. You can do testing. They want a licensed teacher to do that. The most popular thing is just review the work and send in a piece of paper. And as Chris Fenton told me, the superintendent's not even a licensed teacher. They couldn't do an evaluation if they wanted to. It has to be a Florida licensed teacher. And that's once a year, and you continue homeschooling. When they're done, when they graduate or you move, you send a letter of termination to the county, which is the opposite of letter of intent. Child's name, date of birth, mailing address. We're going to homeschool. By law, they have to accept it. Sign your child up. You're homeschool. Free. Totally free to do whatever you want. When they finish, you send the child's name, date of birth, mailing address. We're not homeschooling anymore. Done. You're off the registration, and they're not going to send you an email that says your evaluation's late or whatever. Once a year. And what I finally figured out, they don't tell you, the annual evaluation is our method of attendance. That's the only law we have. Another thing that I tell people is the only law we have is that our children have to go to school. In this state, it's from 6 to 16 years old. They want a final evaluation if they're homeschooling or private school, public school. But I can take, any of you can take 10 students from public, private, or homeschool, give them a piece of paper and a pencil, and ask them to write down and work the problem of 3,962 divided by 15. Now, most of those graduates, most of those 18-year-olds are going to look at you like, huh? 3,952 divided by 15. 4-digit number divided by a 2-digit number. Write it down. Put it in the little house. Give them a calculator. Which number do I put in first? Because there's no law that says they have to learn long division. There's no law that says they have to learn anything. And that's kind of a good thing, because if it was, we'd probably be fully communist state by now. This is what you got to learn. But no, the only law we have in the United States is they have to go to school. They have to do one form or the other. Homeschool, private or public. And they're all legit and they're all equal in legalities. But they're your children, they're your grandchildren, they're our responsibility. And the last thing I'll just say is, when you go to a school and they don't let you visit, I would beg my parents to come even just for lunch. And it made such a difference, because the children were like, Mr. Tucker, my mom knows Mr. Tucker. I'm going to do my best. But my thing was, what do I need to know about your child to help me teach them? And so when you're not even allowed to go to the school, they don't want to hear anything from you or whatever, When my last year in Miami, before I came up to North Florida and then went back to Middle Florida, 2002, they were putting cameras in all the schools. And I was super happy. And some of the teachers were just livid. Cameras. Yeah, because they forget about them in 30 minutes. They're screaming their head off again. But I'm thinking, I want to go on my phone and see what my child's doing in class. Why not? That's your child. That's your grandchild. That's your child. And that's the way it is. That's the truth. And it's our responsibility. We have the responsibility to share the truth with our neighbors and share the truth with our children and walk the walk that we're talking. So, yeah. Thank you. Thanks.